Happy Thursday to all. We are back in the Superhero Battle Room for day number 4 with another powerful war hero to superhero military veteran. You are here in the battle room. Don't press too many buttons unless you get permission. And we are going to go over and talk to another war hero superhero named Kurt. He's an Army veteran. He's a dad. He's a husband, father, everything. He has all these roles and more. It's just amazing to hear. And he's a hardcore man too. He works with wood. I'm like, my definition of wood is the desk right here. So we're going to get right into it for him to share his story, and we're going to learn the hard knocks on life, right? That was a good one, right? So we're going to have him join, and we're going to hear his story. Hey, Kurt, do I have you?
Yeah. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. So we'd love to go hear your war hero story. So how long were you in the service? How was it?
I did 10 years in 1 month. It was fairly well service. During deployments, I did pretty good compared to a lot of other people. I did about 4 trips overseas to Afghanistan, Iraq, and some other countries in that area. Had a really good time for my first deployment. I was a combat engineer. I deployed to do demining operations and did the airfield expansion in Kandahar, helped assist with that back in 2004, 2005, 2006-ish. That was really fun. It was a good time. I got to learn how to train dogs and what all went into the theory of training dogs, especially when using explosive content, stuff like that. It was a really great experience, but it was very monotonous. And then I kind of transitioned over to being a medic, and that's how I did my last 3 deployments. It was a great time.
You go dealing from explosives to explosive people. That's a drastic difference.
The transition kind of was founded. I went to selection for SFAS. I went to Special Forces Assessment and Selection. I got selected back in January of 06. Started the pipeline at the end of 06 and started going through airborne school and all the training stuff. In 2007, I was relieved from the course near the end of 2007 for I kind of said the wrong thing to the wrong people, as well as wasn't making the best decisions in my military career. I was very abrasive, kind of didn't like to play the stupid games. And I don't know, I said the wrong thing to the wrong person, and went on to serve underneath USASOC element, and then found my way again, my mouth getting me in trouble and ending me up in the 82nd Airborne Division, where my soul just was like consumed by I went from being a very driven and focused person to not even wanting to serve anymore. It was really hard for me to wake up and want to go do that without feeling a lot of anger and hostility against the people that I worked for. I didn't fit in there. It was a really hard transition for me. And then, I decided to get out of the military in 2013.
So it was a hard transition to get out. How was it actually after getting out in 2013?
I was coming out of the military very spiteful, very filled with anger, senses of betrayal, and that bled over into my personal life big time. I was making a lot of dumb mistakes as a husband, as a father. I was being very selfish. I was pursuing things that men of my marital status and my fatherhood status should not be pursuing, and it almost cost me my marriage. After that, it was still a tough transition. I started contracting. My wife and I got the relationship back on track, and we started moving forward. With her forgiveness, with the love that she showed me, I was introduced to the Lord, and I kind of come to know Him. And because of that, I was able to let go and forgive a lot of those military transgressors and move forward with my life. I became a PMC, private military contractor, as a medic in Afghanistan, working at the embassy. I got to meet some really great people who have been some of my #1 supporters. Really great brothers in arms. Some of the people that I didn't serve with, but directly in the military. But there's a lot of expats over there. We all see life the same. Came home from that, and I got injured during one of my rotations over there, and it cost me my back. I was an accomplished powerlifter. I was a very respected tactical medic within my field, and it was all taken away from me. It was really when I struggled to find out what my true purpose in life was. And I like to look at it as, at the time I was really angry, like, God, why would you do this to me? Why would you kind of put me through this trial, this transformation? Sorry, I seen your pet thing type up. This trial. Why would you put me through this, knowing that this is what I was good at? This is what I was meant for. And I think he had a way of removing what was unnecessary in my life, so I can really start making a positive difference for him. It's been a really great trip so far. Every day is a battle, but I'm moving closer to my purpose. I feel it. I'm helping veterans with the Artisans Outreach and my woodworking business. And that's kind of what's all been part of my transformation is woodworking after contracting, finding that it was bringing that sense of satisfaction, that sense of accomplishment to my life. And I wanted to help spread that. So from that, the nonprofit was born, and now we're trying to get out and impact as many military families with woodworking as we can. We started doing leatherworking workshops as well.
Yeah, I totally see that. And when I see your work, it goes from raw to beautiful. It's like you make that wood transform. So I've seen some of your work, and it's like, for me, I take wood and it goes from raw to nothing. It just sits there and collects dust. So that's like a cool, I thought it was a cool analogy that you literally worked out the stuff as you worked out on the wood.
Yeah, after I got injured, I found that it was one of the only things that could bring a decreased sense of pain. At the time, I was back on pharmacological agents from the VA. I was getting treatment that way, and it was really starting to take its effect on me. I felt it trying to affect my psyche, and I stopped taking that stuff cold turkey again. And I found that woodworking was giving me more pain relief by the natural release of serotonin in the brain. It was almost like a surreal transformation. I felt like at first I was like, if I'm going to be in pain, why am I going to sit around and not do anything with my pain? I was in pain whether I was sitting on the couch and crying in front of my wife, or I was in pain whether or not I was in the shop creating and transforming raw materials into a finished project. It was a way to quantify, and I found my purpose in that. It was one of those transformation steps that I think was necessary, and I think that the injury was necessary to remove those distractions from my viewpoint to really see that woodworking was my purpose.
That's really cool. Do you have any samples per chance? I'd love to show the audience while we're talking about it.
I can run to my kitchen and get my personal cutting.
Oh, that's totally fine. I can keep the audience going. So hey guys, we're gonna go have Kurt go over and grab some of his samples of his work. He does some very beautiful work. I got to meet him about a year ago at the Military Influencer Conference in DC. I'd highly recommend you going. Cortez Rig goes over and rolls that. It's going to be in San Antonio. I think it got delayed, but they're doing a virtual one, and they're also doing that. So if you definitely want to connect with Kurt, I think he's going to be going to the next one. There we go. We got some samples. See?
I was really looking forward to hitting a Military Influencers Conference down in Texas. And because of COVID, things were canceled, and I never made my reservation on my ticket. So I definitely look forward to the next conference, because we got a chance to talk and meet there. We got a chance to meet a lot of other people from the vet tribe. To put a face and a handshake to the names of the people that were kind of around me. And because of those connections that we made there at DC, I feel like that's really propelled me to gain knowledge, experience from individuals around me that, in spite of kind of what I went through earlier this year, my business has still been successful. I was able to become a true entrepreneur through the processes that I've learned from other people in the tribe and those connections at DC. But
yeah, I'm just amazed that you're like all the trials you've gone through, and then the recent one, and I'm not going to share unless you do them too, but I would have been a wreck. I tell my wife I'm ready for this to happen, but I know I'm going to have my time. I'm like, walls are not going to be friends, those types of things. For me specifically, it was like, so you're just an amazing testimony to even just get up every day, because we have 22 veterans every day going over, and I'm just amazed that you get up every day, and even was able to step up to this interview. So I want to give you kudos on that.
Yeah. So I've actually, I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit. Before we get too far distracted, I got up to go to the kitchen to go show you guys some of my products. This is my first cutting board. This is one of the first ones that I ever made after I got started. This was one of my first end grain cutting boards that I made. It was made out of walnut, cherry, and maple. It's got some mahogany and some sapele in there as well. It's really hard to see the colors. The lighting in this room isn't very well, but you can see kind of the distinction between some of the different grain. And this is an end grain cutting board. The benefits to using an end grain cutting board is that when you cut it with a knife, you're not actually cutting the wood fibers. You're temporarily displacing and parting them like that, so to speak, kind of like coming in the end of the grain versus actually cutting it like paper. If it doesn't make sense, I apologize. I don't know how else to explain it. But when you split the end grain like this, because your knife comes down through the top, right? When you oil it, as you oil it, those wood fibers will start to swell and kind of save the feeling of it. Now, it leaves behind some visual discrepancies here, but when you feel it, it still feels smooth and soft, and it extends the lifetime of your cutting board. So I make both edge grain and end grain board, but typically if I got someone coming to me for a cutting board, I try to steer them towards the longer longevity of an end grain. So that's that size is a 12 by 18. It's what we call the Colonel. So we named our end grain boards after officers. We have the Lieutenant, we have the 12 by 12, we have the Colonel, which is the 12 by 18. And we also make a General, which is any larger custom size. So we've made things like 18 by 26. We've made them as big as 26 by 28, 6 inches thick, out of massive monsters of like imported wood, shadua and sapele and bubinga and all these different exotic lumbers that we threw into this. Absolutely amazing. It was a butcher block. It wasn't just a cutting board. It had its own stand, had its own meat hooks and everything. It was gorgeous. The next product that I have is, we call it a French rolling pin. This is one of the rolling pins that my wife has always used throughout the time that I've known her, and it's a really simple design. So it just kind of looks like a turned rod, but it's slightly tapered from the middle down to the end. So it goes from about 1.75 inches here in the middle to about 1.5 inches at the end. So here, I'll try to get that up there. You can see our brand in the end. This one is made out of purple heartwood. So the color of this wood is actually purple naturally. This wasn't stained. This wasn't treated with anything. It's just naturally purple. It's out of South America. And then some of our more common items some of the items that we donated to McDC was the coasters. We wanted to give some items back to the other veterans that were attending the specific Vet Tribe event. And we made a set of 2 coasters for everybody in attendance. We had them laser engraved with the vet name. And we make those out of like scraps out of the shop. So we found a reason to utilize the scraps in the shop from a business standpoint. You're using your byproduct to create more products, thus increasing your profit margin. So we did that in an effort to try to turn scrap wood into finished projects. We started making coasters, and things have been they're a really quick product. They're about $25 a piece. You can get them on our website. The pattern is completely random unless if you message us and say, hey, I'm looking for something with purple heartwood, and then we'll put something together with purple heartwood and we'll send it to you. But if you just kind of just order it online, you're going to get whatever we send you, and they're always random. We're trying to get some typical just straight streamlined colors like maple and cherry and some other stuff like that, so you can know what you're getting. It's been one of the things that we've kind of been taking some feedback from customers on, is making the shopping market on our website a little bit better. But you can see a bunch of our other products on the website as well. We just released some cigar ashtrays. If anybody's into sitting down with a stogie after a mission or just sitting around, some egg cartons. So we got farm fresh eggs that come out of our chickens. We have 7 chickens in the backyard. We got 5 full size, and then we got 2 silkies. So we get about a half dozen eggs a day on average. And then we started making these wood egg cartons for the countertop eggs. So we make a lot of meat products. We don't just make high-end furniture. We make a lot of middle-grade stuff, and what that does is allows me to teach individuals the basics of things in my shop, and then slowly ease them into the more complicated things like joinery and finishing.
That's really cool. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like, as you transformed to a superhero and started teaching these classes, like, who do you teach these classes to, and how is it going over and helping them?
So one of the big things that I felt like I was deprived of getting out of the military was a sense of community. I went from being in the team room environment to hanging out and being part of a bigger team, always having someone there that you see pretty much every day, and having somebody to kind of hold you accountable. And I didn't have that anymore. So the first thing that we like to do is we're creating a community of people that like to create things.
Mhm.
Whether that's you're just a hobbyist, you just want to come out and you like working with your hands and you like going to do these workshops, the paint classes, all this kind of stuff. We're creating a community of veterans, family members, and active duty soldiers so they feel like when they transition out of service, they got someone to talk to beyond military aspects. Um, and then through that process, through that connection, we teach them trade skills like woodworking, like metalworking. We've had Donald Dotson from Dotson Designs come down. We have
Mhm.
Steve Chaddock of Spartan Customs in our workspace now. So we got a leather worker in house. It's been really great to offer both those trade skills. In the future, we're looking at doing stained glass windows, blacksmithing, metalworking, all types of glass blowing, and pottery.
Mhm.
So we're trying to use the trade skills as a facilitator to bring people together to get them connected in the community. And that was important for me as I started learning the benefits of woodworking. Is I wanted to share that with others. Um, and I understood that maybe you're not into woodworking, maybe you're into leatherworking, maybe you're into pottery, maybe
Mhm.
you're painting, whatever it is, whatever your creative process is, we want you to encourage you to lean into that. And maybe that'll lead towards your transitional purpose.
And that's really cool because a lot of guys, I'm excluded to this, learn by their hands, connect by their hands, emotionally go over and deal with stuff by their hands and having that side by side, shoulder to shoulder work. So that's really cool that you're bringing that. And you're bringing that out of North Carolina, correct?
Yeah, we're located in Fayetteville, North Carolina, just outside of Fort Bragg. We are about a 10 to 15-minute drive from the All American Gate, just on the other side of downtown on Cedar Creek Road. We're conveniently located for other hobbyists throughout the region to come and get their lumber supplies from us. We carry a wide selection of kiln-dried lumber. So it really gives us an opportunity to connect with other woodworkers in the region, as well as other
Mhm.
veterans that are into that creative process that already started. Um, it's really important to me to try to take that moment to connect with somebody when they walk through my door. I think that's the most important thing. No matter what I'm doing, I drop what I'm doing. I'm coming to you. I introduce myself. We talk a little bit. I get to know you as a veteran, as a soldier, as a family member. I get to understand kind of why you're there. And then through that process, I can kind of help coach and guide you. We offer one-on-one stuff outside of workshops. So we just had a military couple come in and they created their own live edge resin river tables. So they poured their own resin. We walked them through the entire process. They cut bow ties, they installed bow ties, they did it all themselves, and it turned out amazing. We coached them through the process, we taught them how to do it, and then we watched them execute that process together, bringing husband and wife together to create a table that they're going to create memories around for a lifetime.
Wow.
It was amazing, and my wife and I, that was the true nature in what we were trying to accomplish with the Artisans Outreach, that connection, that community. And when you see it happening in front of you, when you see a couple or a father and son or a wife and her daughter come in, then you're seeing true connection between the family members beyond just the superficial. Let's go watch you jump at the bounce house, or let's go jump, let's
Yeah.
go play. Like it's a little bit more connection. You're getting to achieve and accomplish something that's together. You can quantify that time together with the memories of every time you look at that object in your house. Like, remember that time we did that? So it's all part of what we're trying to do, and it's all part of what my wife and I set out to do. And as we continue to grow, we continue to offer more, we continue to try to do things. At the beginning part of this year, we had received a creative arts and military outreach grant through the North Carolina Arts Council
Awesome.
and Arts Council of Fayetteville and Fayetteville and Cumberland County, and they sat 50
Mhm.
military families in our classes over the course of 6 months. And then it ran into COVID, and we had to kind of shut things down for a little bit. We opened things back up. We finished up the seats. Uh, so we've done a lot of really good outreach so far this year. We're starting to land some executive sponsorships from individuals like large construction companies to help fund more seats as we move forward. Right now, we have the Artisans Outreach on our website where you can go and get registered as a military member, as a family member, as a veteran, and you get a discount off all of your workshop seats. Um, And the one-on-one projects, the workshops, they all coincide with just trying to get people connected and bringing the people that like to work with their hands together.
That's really cool. Well, if me and my family come work together, you're going to bring out your medic skills because this hand's probably going to go.
Hey, we got a first aid kit, and I was a special operations medic, so we got you covered, boss.
That's what I'm saying. You might be able to practice again, and you'd be like, "Look, I do work during the day and I do medical at night."
Yeah, but it's hard to develop the patience to do things perfectly, and that's what I excel at in my personal business. But when it comes to somebody coming together to do a project, like I tell you up front, like the first thing that you need to expect is that you're going to make mistakes along this process. This is your first time. Don't get discouraged. It happens to everybody, because I guarantee the mistakes that you're going to make on your first one are a lot better looking than the mistakes that I've made on my first one when I was doing it by myself. I learned from my father and my grandfather, but when I started doing this professionally on my own, I only had them at a phone call, not to demonstrate technique to me. It was always, here, this is how to do it on the phone. And then I'd have to execute. And it would always turn out looking pretty ugly and crude at first. I think you froze, boss. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm frozen or something. You're frozen. Let's see if I can message him on the other channel. Well, I think he got dropped from the show. Maybe his internet dropped. If you guys are still with us, I'll carry on until he gets back. Hopefully I'm still live. It's still ticking up in the corner. I am not the host of the show. I'm filling in for the host of the show, Dan Faust. He just looked like he dropped out of the call for some reason. Maybe he'll jump back in and join us. Until then, yeah, so we were talking a little bit about the Artisans Outreach, and it was kind of a shared purpose for my wife and I. It was born off of the idea of wanting to help one another, and she was the one that kind of gave birth to the dream of making it bigger than just a little one-on-one or a little bit of personal mentorship in the shop, in the garage out back, and it turned into, how do we make this happen? About a year and a half ago, I went to a Bunker Labs event up in Raleigh in February of 2019. The first time that I got to shake hands with Mark Dudek, and I got to meet a lot of really great people at that Bunker Labs event. And two of the people that I met, Chanel Haw and William of Crowdfund NC, William McGuire, they became my two closest and trusted advisors when it came to developing what we were calling the Artisans Mill Project. As we continue to develop that Artisans Mill Project, we've seen that there was a need for a nonprofit side of this. Like we needed to figure out how to make this into more of an altruistic and outreach capability versus trying to monetize everything. So we shifted focus, from the for-profit model to a nonprofit model to help build the community to the Artisans Outreach. And it was absolutely amazing. I think that that's what really kind of led in the development of kind of steering and catering towards the full nonprofit arm. Like, how can we take this? How can we get involved with our community? And how can we make the largest difference with the resources that we've been blessed with? And thus, the Artisans Outreach was formed off of that little side shoot. I still work with Chanel and William on the Artisans Mill Project, and there's more to come on that as we develop it further. Ballash Woodworks is just the start. It's my start. It's the start of what's to come of the community that's going to be about this giant creative atmosphere. we got already on board. We got Spartan Customs, Steve Chaddick. He's been a great person to have on board. We've had Mark Hammers come on board as a wood carver, and he was offering a lot of skills there. We've had some other connections where we met Toby up at McDC, and now he is in our space as an Airbnb management company. So like when we have people travel from out of town, we got a connection to help facilitate housing. We've connected with residential repairers that kind of manage our space. We've brought in special vendors events where we highlighted veteran-owned farms. We've brought in veteran-owned dog treat companies. And we've just kind of been doing really good things with the community that we've been creating around Ballash Woodworks. Now, Ballash Woodworks is only a portion of the Artisans Outreach, and as we continue to grow, we continue to figure out how we can offer more back. So we just upgraded some tools. We started doing the classes again, and now if you go online to the Artisans Outreach website or the Artisans Outreach page on ballashwoodworks.com, you can see that it's kind of its own little window. You can get registered, and that would be you getting tagged for like a $25 discount. I'm seeing Daniel pop in over here. He said the power went out, so I'm going to check my messages over on Facebook really quick and see what's going on over here. Looks like I got a bunch of notifications. Sorry, I'm rambling here, but with Daniel not on the show right now, with his power being out, I'm just going to try to carry it through. Earlier, we talked a little bit about kind of some of the stuff that I've been going through. I don't know what's going on. Daniel Faust mentioned me in the comment. Sorry, all power went out. We'll finish this interview via recording. Stay tuned for more transformation story of Kurt Ballash. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this broadcast now. We'll pick up where we left off. I don't know if this is still recording, if this is still live on Facebook anywhere, but we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that I've been through this year and how we've been able to step further into the path of entrepreneurship. And, despite all of the personal setbacks this year. Until next time, I love you guys. Be safe.